Hello Pre-Calc students, we are going to take our Day 5 notes. Once again, we are analyzing functions. Today we're going to be talking about intervals of increasing and decreasing, maxima and minima, and average rate of change. So on the first page we are going to be looking at these graphs and determining these things. An absolute maximum would be the biggest point on the graph, but if your graph is going to infinity, then there is no biggest point. So we would just write none. The absolute minimum would be the smallest point on the graph, so we can see that the smallest point on the graph is here at -3, and the location of that smallest point is when x equals -4. There is a relative maximum point right here. It's the largest point in this area, so the relative maximum is a value of 2, and its location is when x equals 1. There's also a relative minimum. It's the smallest value in this area, and the smallest value in that area is -1, and its location is at x equals 3. Okay, intervals of increasing and decreasing. Let's look at these graphs again. The graph is increasing when the y values are increasing. So I can see it's increasing here and it's increasing here. So I'm going to write the increasing intervals by listing their x values. So the x value here is -4. So it's increasing from -4 until x is 1. And then it's increasing again from when x is 3 until infinity. For increasing and decreasing intervals, we always use parentheses because at this turning point, the graph is neither increasing nor decreasing. Our decreasing intervals, let's change color, are from -infinity until -4, and then another one from 1 to 3. Alright, next graph, same idea. Let's start by looking for an absolute maximum. It goes to positive infinity, so there's not one. And it also goes to negative infinity, so there's not an absolute minimum. But we have both a relative maximum and a relative minimum. So I see my relative maximum right there, and the value is 3 when x equals -4. And over here I see my relative minimum. The value is -3, and that happens when x equals 1. Alright, I have two intervals of increasing. One is from -infinity to -4, and that's right here. My second one is right here, so that's from 1 to infinity. And my interval of decreasing is here in the middle, from -4 to 1. Alright. On this graph, the absolute maximum seems to be this point, but it's an empty dot, so that says that that point is not included. So my largest point is really, really close to 7. It's going to be as close as you can possibly get, and that would be 6.9999999 going on forever. So to show 6.9 going on forever, we're going to write 6.9, and we're going to put a bar on top. And the location of that 6.9 is really close to -1, but not quite there. So I'm going to write at x equals -0.99999. So put a bar on top to show that that's repeating. Absolute minimum value, we don't have one because our graph goes to -infinity. For the relative maximum, you can see that value is right here. The relative maximum is 5 at x equals -3. And there seems to be a relative minimum value as well right here, and that relative minimum will be 3 at x equals -1. We are increasing right here from -infinity until -3, and we are decreasing twice. Once is here from -3 to -1, and then one more here from -1 to infinity. So this is a good point to pause the video and try the next 3 problems on your own, and then you can come back to the video and check and see if you did it correctly. Okay, after you've paused the video, you can check your answers on the screen, and then we'll move on to the next page. On the next page, you're going to need your graphing calculator, so if you don't have it out, pause the video and get your graphing calculator out. So we're going to do the same thing that we did on the first page, but now these functions don't have graphs, so we're going to graph them on our calculator. You will see on this page that there are directions for graphing on the Casio and on the TI, but none of this is new. This is the same graphing that you did in Algebra 2. Okay, so I'm going to move my calculator over so that I can see. And I want to graph y equals 3x to the 4th minus 4x to the 3rd. And if I press graph, I can kind of see the graph there. But it's not clear exactly what's going on in the middle, so I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And the easiest way for me to zoom in is just pick exactly what values I want to see. I want to see from about -3 to 3 on the x-axis, and about the same on the y-axis, -3 to 3. So I'll press window, and I will change to -3 for x min, change x max to 3, go down to y min, change it to -3, and change y max to 3. Let's look at the graph again. Now we can see a little bit more clearly what's happening. There seems to be a little wiggle right here, but this is not a maximum or a minimum. So we have only one relative minimum down here. So I need to find this relative minimum, and then I'll know everything I need to know about the graph. I press second, calculate, and choose 3 minimum. I need a point that's to the left of the minimum, so I'm using my right arrow to get closer to the number. And now I'm to the left of the minimum value, so I press enter. I'm going to go right some more until I'm on the right of the minimum and press enter. And then I'll go close to the minimum and I'll press enter again. So I have x equals 0.99999, and that's a rounding error on the calculator's part. The x is actually 1 and the y is actually -1. So I'm going to write those values here. Let's see. So in my graph, I had a minimum point at +1, -1. So that would be a relative minimum. Actually, that would be an absolute minimum. I have to look at my graph again. Yep, it's an absolute minimum. Absolute minimums are also relative minimums, but we just don't waste the time to rewrite them. And because I go to positive infinity on both sides, I don't have a maximum value. And it looks like I put this in the wrong spot, so let's move this all down. So no maxes, and I have an absolute minimum, which is also a relative minimum. And I am increasing from this point to infinity. So list the x values. I'm increasing from 1 to infinity, and I'm decreasing from -infinity to 1. All right, let's graph the second one. Press y equals and clear out what you had, and we have x to the 3rd minus 8x plus 3. Take a look at the graph. I think we're going to find our window's too small now, so I'm going to go back to Zoom Standard. Press Zoom and choose 6, the standard window. And now you can see most of the graph. I can see that I'm going to have a maximum value here and a minimum value here, so I need to find both of those. So first I'll find the maximum. Second, trace. Maximum is choice 4. I need to go to the left of the maximum, so I'm moving my cursor with the left arrow to the left of the maximum. Press enter, move it to the right of the maximum, press enter, and just move it a little bit closer to the maximum, and press enter. So that maximum is about negative 1.6, 11.7. So over here, I'm going to sketch that picture. Negative 1.6, 11.7. Now I need to find the minimum value over here. So go back to my calculator, second, trace, minimum is choice 3. I need to go to the left of the minimum, press enter, go to the right of the minimum, press enter, and press enter again. So I have about 1.6, negative 5.7, and I need to write that over here. Let's see, was that negative or positive? I'm going to look back. Negative. Okay. So now I'm ready to write my points. I have neither an absolute maximum or minimum because my graph goes to negative infinity and positive infinity. So nothing here for the absolutes. For the relative maximum, I have the point negative 1.6, 11.7. And for the relative minimum, I have 1.6, negative 5.7. My function is increasing from negative infinity until negative 1.6, and again from 1.6 to infinity. And it's decreasing in the middle from negative 1.6 to 1.6. So now's a good time to pause the video and try to do the third one, and then you can check your work against mine. And here's my work. And we're going to continue our notes on the second video.